Everything is alive and what is trying to kill me.
Welcome to Tequila and Terror, a paranormal and true crime podcast where we drink tequila and tell terrible tales. Welcome to episode 8, everybody.
I can't believe it's 8 episodes already.
8 whole weeks.
Yeah, that's
Proud
pretty
of us.
good. Yeah, and once again, we're going to thank everybody from everywhere, really, that's listening to us.
Yeah.
That's awesome. We got somebody from India now and South Africa.
Yeah, I'm pretty pumped.
And more Australians. We love you, our Australian buddies down there. We really do. That's no sarcasm. That's awesome.
We're super pumped, y'all.
What kind of story are you doing for us, Keisha?
This week, I have decided to do kind of a sweet Valentine's-y story to prep everybody for the week and the
Aw.
holiday. Also, I know Wes's stories are usually awful, so I thought maybe I'd give you guys kind of a break on my front.
Yeah, mine's not horrible.
On the front end.
No babies or pregnant women involved, so...
I feel like
Or
it's probably
cats.
still going to
Yeah.
be real bad. Mine doesn't mention any animals this week, so we're
Good.
good. We're good. We're golden.
Okay.
This week we are talking about the Pittock Mansion.
Pittock.
Pittock. I tried to look up the pronunciation, so if I'm saying that wrong, I apologize, guys. So, Pittock Mansion. In 1853, British-born Henry Pittock took a wagon from Pennsylvania to Oregon. This was during the Manifest Destiny period, where many were traveling westward. He arrived, quote, barefoot and without a cent. He got a job working as a typesetter for the Oregonian, which is a newspaper that's still around today. And after his boss, Thomas J. Dreyer, was hired as part of President Lincoln's administration, 25-year-old Henry was just given the newspaper to run.
Wow.
Like, they just gave it to him.
That's pretty cool.
No debt, just gave it to him. He was given this business to run, and it turned into a very lucrative business for him. It's still very popular. He turned it into a daily publication.
Well,
Super cool.
what was the name of the newspaper again?
The Oregonian.
Oregonian.
Yes. By 1860, he had married Georgiana Burton. Henry was an avid outdoorsman and was part of the first group to climb Mount Hood. He also was a strong businessman, eventually branching into transportation, real estate, mining and banking, steamboats, sheep ranching, silver mining, and had a pulp and paper industry.
Well, he was into everything.
Yeah, he was a busy fella. Georgiana was very active in the community, devoting what little time she probably had, aside from raising their 6 children. Girl was like a boss.
Gosh.
To-
6 kids,
yeah.
all these businesses.
Yeah, she gardened. She loved roses, so she helped create the tradition of Portland's annual Rose Festival. She also helped found the Ladies Relief Society in 1867 and assisted in building the Martha Washington Home for Single Working Women.
Wow.
Yeah, she was like super super involved in the community.
Seems like Portland's kind of like that now. They're really progressive and really a lot of hippies there.
As Henry and Georgiana got older, they decided to build a mansion because, you know, they had all this wealth now.
Well, they worked their butts off. They deserve a nice place.
They kicked butt. So in 1914, Pittock Mansion was completed. It rested on a 1,000-foot peak in West Hills.
Really?
The French Renaissance-style mansion was designed by Edward Folks, who is actually known for co-designing the Oregon State Building at the San Francisco Exposition, which became known as the Rustic Parthenon. The 16,000 square foot, 72-room mansion was made from locally sourced materials and included a Otis elevator, intercoms, a private shower that was, quote, like a human car wash with horizontal needle sprays to reach all parts of the body,
I
including
want that, yeah.
a liver spray and toe tester, whatever the heck that means.
Huh.
I knew you'd be intrigued by that.
As long as it sprayed my butt and my balls really good, I'd be okay with that.
Oh my god.
You'd save so much money on toilet paper.
You just like shower every time you go to the
I
bathroom.
would. If I had a human car wash, damn straight.
and displayed marvelous views of Mount St. Helens and Mount Hood,
Gosh.
as well as views of the gardens and woods on their 46 acres.
This place sounds amazing.
Yeah, we've got to go.
I would just like to see a picture of this. I'm going to have to look this up.
Yeah, it's beautiful. They used the largest room as the children's playroom, and a large sorry, y'all. I just had
How now,
a
brown cow?
stroke.
Murder the most melons.
And a large marble staircase, which took up a third of the space of the mansion, connects all 3 stories. The house is said to have the most awe-inspiring views of the city. Construction was complete in 1914, and the Pittocks, as well as 8 of their relatives, moved in. So at least they brought enough people to stay in that big old house. It wasn't just them.
Get lonely, I guess.
Oh yeah, I mean it's huge. 72 rooms. 72 rooms.
72
insane.
rooms.
Insane, y'all. Insane. Okay, so unfortunately, once they moved in, they were only able to stay there a couple of years because they were getting old and they passed away.
No.
So they did pass away in the house. So Mrs. Pittock passed away in 1918. A year later, Henry passed away because, that's usually how it goes. Other family members lived in the estate until 1958, and after that, the home lay empty for years. In 1962, the home was actually damaged pretty badly by a storm, and the surviving family members thought of having the house demolished.
Gosh.
Yeah, because it was pretty bad. It had been empty forever, and they were like, it's not really doing much for us. The community actually rallied together and raised $75,000 to help the city of Portland purchase and restore the old mansion. The city bought the Pittock Mansion in 1964 for, I think it was $224,000.
Wow,
but
that's
I
a lot
didn't
of
write
money,
that
though,
down, so don't quote me on that. And they formed a nonprofit to care for the property, which is now open for tours. It is believed that since the Pittocks were not able to enjoy their home for long prior to their passing, that their spirits still hang around on their property. Guests have reported windows shutting and latching on their own and opening and unlatching on their own. It is said, let me make sure I'm not fibbing. Yeah, it said that there are heavy footsteps in and near the garden that sometimes enter the mansion through the side door. So they think that the footsteps are of the groundskeeper because he would be using that door on a regular basis, coming in and out, going in the garden and all that stuff.
I mean, if I was going to be a ghost and haunt a place, that would be a good place. It seems like paradise.
I kind of want to live there too.
Yeah, I mean, just live there forever.
For sure. There are also claims of footsteps being heard in every other room of the house as well. So, I mean, this is a lot of footsteps that are being heard by a lot of people. There's claim that a portrait of young Henry himself moves around the house, which I thought was Scooby-Doo-esque, like the eyes following you as you walk.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
But then I actually read more and I was like, well, I'm a big dummy. Cool. Because the picture actually goes missing from time to time and will just show up in a random place, like under the bed or in a completely different part of the house. So, it's creepy for the eyes to be following you, but it's even creepier for the picture to just not be there.
So, no mystery there for Shaggy and Scooby.
Yeah, no. Right, Raggy.
Yep.
Picture's gone. What happened?
Yeah. No Scooby snacks.
Yeah, because I was like, the eye thing could be an optical illusion. But, this painting goes missing when nobody is in the house. They will lock up for the day, make sure that the picture is there, leave. Picture's there. When they come back in the morning, it's gone.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I would leave. I would leave. I'd be like, nope, can't go in by myself this morning. Somebody's got to be opening with me. So some of the tour guides have actually spotted apparitions upon opening up for the day. And that they believe that the apparitions are that of Henry and Georgiana. That there are apparitions of the couple as well as head groundskeeper. And they have been seen and felt following visitors at times as they tour the property, which I don't blame them. They're super rich people, sweet grandma, grandpa type, super in love with each other. Of course they're going to be the type of people to be like, come look at my home.
Yeah.
Look, this is my living room. This is my second living room. This is my third living room. Look at the shower.
Yeah.
It's so fancy.
It's a human car wash.
Yeah, it's a human car wash. So, I mean...
It has a tow washer.
Yeah. Look at my grand staircase and my grand ballroom and my grand kids.
Yeah.
Some claim that they smell roses in certain rooms when there are no roses present, which, of course, that was Georgiana's favorite flower. And so everybody thinks that that is her following them around or that she's close because they smell her scent, which is, I mean, I feel like that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I've smelled, like, my grandparents' perfumes and stuff, so it's a thing. It's stated that she has been seen in the reflection of a glass-fronted painting as an apparition. The lady who reported this said that she felt as though she wasn't alone, and when she turned around, she saw the elderly woman and an elderly woman standing near her, who then disappeared a few moments later.
Oh, wow.
Insane. People have claimed to see floating old ladies.
Floating old ladies.
They're just like drunk and floating.
Get back here, Margaret. You're floating.
Edna, where'd you go? Sorry, y'all. Oh, heavens. They have seen boots walking without legs, which is creepy.
These boots are made for walking.
Without legs, apparently. But also separate from the disembodied footsteps that are heard. One source even stated that people have seen a tree with a face in it, but I really don't know if I believe that one. That seems a little far-stretched.
A tree with a face. Huh.
A tree with a face. So, one person came to investigate the property. Paranormal investigator claims to have an EVP that sounds like a male voice stating, "I'm heading back." Another got an EVP of a female voice saying, "Hello." A female employee stated that one night when she was closing up, she had turned all the lights off, and then suddenly they all turned back on. A tourist stated that while looking at pictures in the basement, she felt a presence behind her. This is the one I already told you about. She saw the elderly woman. She suddenly vanished. And then a described, I can't say words right, shaman was touring the mansion with a group of native Hawaiians. Shortly after that, said that he could feel the Pittock spirit in the mansion and that they were extremely happy.
Oh.
So that's your elderly ghostly grandma and grandpa. Tell them hi.
That's pretty sweet. It really is. They're kind of like together for eternity.
They are cutie little old people. I love old people, you guys.
Especially a little old ghost lady showing you her garden.
I mean, that's just like the cutest. I can't. If I ever have ghosts, I want them to be... I mean, I feel like the ghosts that haunt our house are actually my grandparents, but we're not going to get fully into that. But, like, old people ghosts are the best ghosts. They really are.
Other than old people smell.
Okay, so apparently we are getting into this. I do smell my grandmother's perfume pretty frequently.
Huh.
Like, right before bed, if I'm stressed out and about to have an anxiety attack over something, if I'm just, like, laying there stressed out, I smell her smell.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's weird. This used to be their house. It's fine. It's creepy as hell, but... All right, Wes.
Well, my story this week...
Depress me.
It's not too bad. I mean, it could be worse.
It could also be better, I feel like.
Yeah. But this is the Texas eyeball killer. A Dallas pathologist was examining the body of a prostitute who had been shot in the head the night before. She was not prepared for what she found when she opened the eyelids. The eyeballs were gone and removed with precision. It was the first time she'd ever seen anything like it. This would become the signature of the eyeball killer. Charles Albright, born August 10, 1933, was adopted by Dale and Fred Albright. His mother, who was a nurse, left him as an orphan, so these people adopted him. Fred owned a grocery store, and his wife, Dale, was a school teacher. She was very strict, like a really rough disciplinarian. She physically abused her son throughout his childhood. If he spilled milk, she would beat him. It went beyond spankings. On some occasions, she would even tie him to the bed if he wouldn't take a nap.
Oh, man.
Said the abuse was also psychological. When he was a year old, he was chewing on her tape measure that she had for like measuring stuff. I guess. Yeah. Sorry, you looked at me so I was like,
the tape measure that she had for measuring stuff.
Yeah.
I was actually just thinking, like, is this like one of the
like a wooden yardstick, probably.
Oh, I was thinking like more of, is this a looked at you
No,
like that?
he chewed on it like a teething baby, so she locked him in a room with the lights out.
Oh.
So, and as he got older, his mother sometimes dressed him as a girl. They don't know why she did that, but she did it quite often, and even more when his aunt came into town. So I'm sure that
maybe she just really wanted a daughter and didn't know how to process that.
Yeah. But
Homegirl's weird.
And his mother feared dirt would make him change his clothes several times a day. She was obsessed with cleanliness. She insisted that he only drank goat milk from the animals that lived on their backyard, and she convinced him that dog poop contained the polio virus.
I mean, it does have germs, but not necessarily polio.
Yeah, she went as far to taking him to the local hospital and showing him the polio ward and showing him people in iron lungs and telling him he needed to stay clean and away from dog poop and stuff like that, or he would get a disease and end up in an iron lung.
Huh. So he's a germaphobe. Or she's a germaphobe.
Which transferred to him.
Yeah.
And his mother just kept up these deals. So little Charles is getting a pretty crazy childhood so far. His mother told Charles about his father's sex life.
That's so weird.
Yeah, said that she said that her husband would grab her in provocative ways when he found her standing in her bra and underwear, and that Fred was greedy about sex. She said she didn't want her son to grow up the same way, so she tried to tell him that you don't treat a woman like this. But
there are other ways.
Yeah, instead of,
I feel like, to teach him.
Yeah, like a 10-year-old like that.
That's
it's probably
so weird.
Here's a weird sex talks, little Charlie. It's
oh, it's so awkward.
But she was a devoted mother. She nurtured the child's natural talents. He could play the piano. He was a very good artist, and he knew 3 languages.
Huh.
So
he's doing better than most Americans.
He was super bright. He skipped 2 grades in school and graduated at like 15. So
holy crap.
Yeah. When he got his first gun as a teenager, he killed small animals with it. His mother would help him stuff these animals he killed.
Where do they live? Did you say that?
In Texas.
Okay, so I mean, I don't feel like that's super weird.
No, I mean, people hunt all the time, kill stuff. So.
And they, like, stuff them, and or, like, we're Southern, so, I mean, that's not super weird. I have a cow skull on my dresser, so...
Yeah, but his mom helped him with this, because he had interest in becoming a taxidermist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it wasn't, like, a major red flag yet to them.
Yeah, not really.
Because she was weird as hell, too.
Yeah. So she enrolled her son in a mail-order taxidermy course, which I didn't even know existed.
Yeah, that's weird.
So they said he spent hours every day on this course studying taxidermy, stuffing, and mounting birds that he had killed, and then they would bring them in and stuff them and make them look as lifelike as they possibly could.
Huh.
And usually the crowning touch to him was the eyeballs. They said he was obsessed with eyeballs at a young age. He learned how to pop an eyeball of the socket without damaging the surrounding tissue. The family could not afford the expensive eyeglass, the glass eyes, and they would go to taxidermy shops, and he would just stare at the eyeballs. He said that owl eyes, eagle eyes, deer eyes, he just loved the way they shined. So he wanted to collect them like other kids collected baseball cards and marbles and stuff like that. After they finished the birds, they would take them and put them in a china cabinet in their house. And everybody that came over to the house, they just like showed this china cabinet off like their prized possessions.
Like pageant moms would show off their kids'
Yeah.
pageant trophies.
And what I thought was creepy about this is since the bird didn't have any eyes, they sewed little buttons over the eyes.
Oh, like Coraline.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So they would take little buttons off a shirt and put over the eyes. So
that is so weird. I
I'm-
love it.
I tried to find a picture of one of these, but I couldn't find one. So, but I'm gonna look.
It's so creepy that I like it, but I know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Oh.
This kid was super smart. I already told you he graduated at school at 15, but at 13, he was already doing petty theft. As he was committing these crimes, he finally got arrested for aggravated assault. When his mother caught wind of his arrest, she went around to the store owners where he'd been stealing stuff and tried to reimburse them for the money. And she went around apologizing to the kids that he beat up, trying to get them not to press any charges. And when the judge sentenced him to jail, she told the judge that she would do his time in jail for him.
That's so strange to me.
Yeah. But he didn't. So he pretty much got a slap on the wrist at that time. But after he graduated at 15, he enrolled in North Texas University. He had an interest in training as a doctor and a surgeon, so he took pre-med courses, but failed to complete it. At 16, he was caught stealing petty cash along with 2 handguns and a rifle. So he spent a year in jail for that. So just a lot of these little crimes.
Yeah.
After jail, he attended the Arkansas State Teachers College.
Huh.
And majored in pre-med there. While he was there, his classmates said that he was odd. They said that he would cut out the eyes in like newspaper clippings and stuff like that, catalogs, and plaster them all over the dorm room, the walls, the ceilings. They even put them in the bathroom.
That's so strange.
Yeah. But since he was such a little petty thief, he got kicked out. He was expelled from there too for theft. After that, he, instead of going through the trouble of going to school, he forged a master's degree and a bachelor's degree. So,
Of course it. He's like, you know what? This is too much work. Let me just fake it.
yeah.
Fake it till you make it, y'all. Fake it till you make it.
He married one of the girls that he had a class with in school, and they had a daughter together. His wife was a teacher. He continued to forge checks and stuff like that along the way. He was caught in this while teaching at a high school and placed on probation. His wife eventually divorced him, and he was caught stealing hundreds of dollars worth of merchandise from a hardware store, and he was sentenced to 2 years in prison. But he got out after 6 months.
Of course he did.
Yeah. So you see this with a lot of these guys. They just constantly keep getting breaks. They'll do these little crimes. They'll get a slap on a wrist that makes them braver. They'll move up and do something else. That really starts making them think they're smarter than anyone else. And they just keep getting away with this stuff. But he got back in this town and he started gaining the trust of the neighbors and the residents. And he was even starting to babysit some of the children.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So he was actually caught molesting a 14-year-old girl.
Oh, God.
He was prosecuted and pled guilty. He said he pled guilty just to avoid the hassle. But they gave him probation.
Seriously?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that blows my mind that stuff like that happens.
Yeah.
These guys get all these breaks. They just keep committing crimes. But I guess at this time,
What year
this was in 81.
Okay.
So it was harder to keep track of everything before then without the computers. So they probably weren't able to type his name in and pull up a rap sheet. In 1985, Albright met a woman from Arkansas named Dixie. That's such an Arkansas woman name.
I don't know anyone named Dixie.
I don't either, but
I feel like that's a Texas woman name.
he invited her to live
No
with
offense,
him.
y'all.
And soon after that, she was paying his bills and supporting him. So,
Of course she was.
He had a lot of strange hobbies.
I mean, he was smart. He knew how to get someone who would take care of him.
Yeah, he made baseball bats. He made wine. He even went down to the border and learned how to be a bullfighter.
I mean, he's living the life.
Yeah.
what it sounds like.
He loved to paint. He did a lot of paintings for local people in town and did a lot of commissions. And one of these was a portrait he did for a friend's wife. He worked on a portrait for weeks. And they said that he just went into an insane amount of detail. Like, they said the hair looked lifelike. But as he was working on the painting, he didn't paint the eyes right away. So you looked at it, and there were just 2 white holes where they were at. They said people kept asking, well, when are you going to paint the eyes, Charles? And he said, I'll do it when it's time. He eventually painted them, and everybody said the eyes were amazing. They said wherever you went, it looked like they followed you. And he even commented that most artists have weakness painting the eyes. So he just put extreme detail in the paint. I couldn't find a picture of the painting either.
That is so terrifying, though.
He delivered newspapers in the early morning. Pretty much so he could go out without his wife's suspicion and look at prostitutes.
Huh.
So he had a good cover story there. He was just going out and checking out prostitutes while his wife did all the work, and he went around doing all these little hobbies.
So I wonder if he was, like, actually doing the newspapers, like, delivering them, or if he just claimed to deliver newspapers.
He was probably the type of guy that just threw them off a bridge or something.
Yeah. He was like, well, listen, I delivered newspapers. I delivered 2 of them. Yeah. A whole 2.
Charles created this other life for himself. He kept a secret from everyone pretty much that knew him. But everyone in the red light district really knew who he was. He was known as a whoremonger.
What?
Yeah, I really like the word whoremonger. I straight up ripped that off out of an article I found because I've never seen that used in a sentence.
Have you not?
No.
It's a big day for you.
I like it, whoremonger. They said that he was a regular trick. They said to most of them he was even a sugar daddy. They said that to these prostitutes, they just pretty much milked him for money. He would come around, and sometimes he would even take them out and just buy them lunch without even sex involved. So
it's the power. He just wanted the power.
And it probably made him feel special, so. His parents eventually died, and he received quite a bit of money and a lot of rental property that they had. He rented out some of these houses to friends for low rent. Some of them he even let people stay in for free. But December 13th, 1990, the body...
Oh my God!
What?
That's the day I was born!
It is, isn't it? Happy birthday, Keisha.
Like the exact day I was born.
Wow. You know, I didn't even think about that when I did that. Well, you know what happened on your birthday?
The literal day that I was born, you guys.
Well, this day that you were born, police found the body of Mary Lou Pratt.
Huh.
She was a well-known sex worker in the Oak Cliff neighborhood of Dallas. She was found dead wearing only a t-shirt and a bra. She'd been shot in the back of the head with a .44 caliber gun and badly beaten.
Holy crap.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. And now we see where I am now.
Yeah. The medical examiner reported that the killer had removed both of her eyes with surgical precision and had taken them with him.
Oh my God.
Mary's eyes had been cut from her head so carefully that the upper and lower eyelids were undisturbed.
Babe, no.
She was completely dumbfounded. Said this was not an operation taught in medical school. The killer knew how to slip the knife around the eyes, making sure not to injure the adjoining skin, and then cut 6 major muscles holding each eye in the socket, as well as a rope-tough optical cord.
Oh my God.
They said when the eyelids were shut, it was impossible to tell that the eyes were missing. So they said whoever did this had a lot of practice.
Holy crap.
So the police...
intense.
Yeah. The police seen this, and they contacted the FBI.
Of course they did. Because that's insane.
Yeah, well, they knew that something was off, and the FBI kept records of strange crimes like mutilations. Mutilations and torture and stuff like that. They kept a list because...
Well, but like also, if you see something like this where you have to have had special training for that, you would think, oh, maybe this guy has done multiple murders like this.
Yeah.
So there's obviously got to be others because they don't know about his history.
Yeah. So After a while, though, with no leads, nothing, she was a prostitute, so she was missing, but she wasn't really missed. So, I mean, it's kind of sad, but it's true. But February 10th, 1991, another body shows up. It was Susan Peterson. She was 27-year-old. She was a white sex worker. She was found on the same street that Mary was found on, just outside of the city limits. So,
holy crap.
She was nude and she had been shot 3 times in the head. The medical examiner found that her eyes had been removed as well.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, so when that happened, they knew that they had a serial killer.
Yeah, like, who the heck is going to do that? It's got to be the same guy.
But there wasn't as much time in between this crime. Was that March 10th, 1991, he killed another woman. They found the body of a third prostitute, Shirley Williams. She was a black lady. She was 45. She was found on the road in full view of an elementary school.
What?
Yeah.
No.
She was propped up on the curb to make it look like she was just sitting there.
Oh, looked like she had just got drunk and passed out.
Yeah.
Poor baby.
Like the others, she had been shot in the head and her eyeballs were gone.
Oh, at least it didn't look like her eyeballs were missing with her eyes closed.
This one, it got a little sloppier because they don't know what happened, but they think that he must have got rushed because the cuts around the eyes, there was a large gash, and you could see that the tip of the X-Acto knife that he cut the eyeballs out with was still stuck in her eye, in the socket.
Hopefully none of the little babies saw that.
Yeah, I don't know. Surely not. A waitress found her body and notified the police, and they, like I told you, they found her propped up on the curb like that in front of the school. So all these bodies had been set up in a way in clear sight so it'd be easy to find. So police thought that maybe he wanted them to find them.
Yeah.
Police had canvassed the area and talked to all the prostitutes, looking for leads to the case. They had gathered license plates and information on the Johns, and most of the leads came up empty. They didn't know who the guy was. They started speculating that maybe it had been a doctor that had gone crazy. Maybe someone had got AIDS from a prostitute. They didn't really have any good leads. News of this mutilation spread. And finally, the press got a hold of the details in the case about the eyeballs being missing.
Holy crap.
So eventually, a prostitute named Veronica Rodriguez, who was 26 at the time, she'd been a prostitute for most of her life, and she'd been arrested for prostitution multiple times. She was seen walking down the street one day. Blood was coming from her forehead, and the officers pulled over and asked her what happened. She had a cut across the front of her neck and her forehead, and she said, "Don't arrest me, I almost got killed." Rodriguez told the officers the previous night she'd been picked up by a trick, or John, and driven out south to a field. The man raped her and then tried to kill her, but she escaped and ran towards a house. The man at the house just happened to be someone that she knew.
Oh my God.
And the man at the house also knew the man that was trying to kill her.
What the heck?
Yeah. So that's kind of odd.
What?
The cops didn't believe her story.
Of course
because
not.
She was drugged up and she was a prostitute, a notorious liar. So they're thinking, well, this doesn't make any sense. You're saying that this guy tried to kill you. You ran to a house and you knew both of these people. So they didn't really put a whole lot of effort into it. They said that she was known for telling pity stories to the cops just to get out of trouble, and they thought this was one of those, so they just kind of left her alone.
You still ask questions, though.
Well, 2 days later, they seen her and the same truck driver in the area again, and she was in the cab of a truck with a guy. So this time, they go up and start questioning him because, she was a prostitute, he was a John.
Yeah.
They asked for the driver's license and started processing him, and she said, no, don't arrest him. This is the man that saved me the other night. His name was Axton Schindler of 1035 El Dorado Avenue in Dallas. He came up clean except for unpaid traffic tickets. and the prostitution deal. So they ended up taking both of them to jail. But nothing really came of that because, I mean, she's still a prostitute.
But
so.
still, like, why did they not say, hey, dude, you knew this other guy. Is this story legit? Did she almost get murdered?
Yeah.
Who is this guy that almost murdered her? Let's get this straightened out.
Yeah.
Like, that's ridiculous. I mean, it's still murder. No matter how much you value the other person's life.
Yeah.
I realized that at that time that, you know, they didn't feel like a human is a human is a human is a human, but...
A prostitute named Brenda White, who had been a prostitute for 20 years, said that one of her clients had tried to kill her. And she got away because she had a can of mace and sprayed him in the face. She described the attacker as a middle-aged white man with salt and pepper hair. They started discussing the case, and that the cop realized, well, maybe this Rodriguez wasn't as far out with this thing as we thought. So they bring her in for questioning, and they start kind of going through the case. Rodriguez and White had both described the attacker as a middle-aged male with salt and pepper hair. So police remembered that Rodriguez had gave them an address. So they searched that address and realized that it was went back to Fred Albright's house. So Fred was Charles's dad. But Fred was dead, so they thought they'd hit a dead end. And they started researching a little more and found out Charles was connected to the property. With more research, they realized that one of the tenants was the truck driver that Rodriguez had told them about earlier.
Yeah, so he was living at his
place. He was living in the house. So they were buddies.
For that discounted or free rent.
Yeah.
Of course.
So they start researching Charles and figure out he's got all this past for all these petty crimes and for this child molestation charge.
Uh-oh.
So they pull up his picture and put it in a lineup. Charles fit the description. White and Rodriguez both picked him out of a lineup. So on March 22nd, 1991, the police arrested him.
Thank God.
Yeah, they didn't have much evidence. They tried to get a confession out of him and interrogated him for 24 hours, but he said nothing.
Holy crap.
Yeah. He acted like he never heard the names of the prostitutes or had ever been around the prostitutes. Police and FBI searched his house, finding hardly anything really. They found some woodworking blades, an X-Acto knife, a copy of Grey's Anatomy, and at least a dozen true crime books. But I mean, if they searched my house, they would find that many true crime books. So
I do sometimes think you're a little creepy, but I don't think that you would, cut somebody's eyes out.
Yeah.
Plus, you're too clumsy.
Yeah.
You'd get found out about in like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Babe.
And I've got plenty of power tools too. So I'm thinking that I'd probably look like a crazy killer.
And you live with your cat, so
yeah,
yes.
True. But in this search, you're not helping this case, Keisha. In this search, they never found any eyeballs. So, and Charlie, he even had a hand-built fireplace mantle that when you opened it, there's a secret compartment. And usually, these cops get really excited when they found a secret compartment.
I mean, that excites me.
Yeah, but
like, there's a secret? What?
When they opened it up, they found pistols and rifles. So, they thought, oh, yeah, we got the murder weapon. But none of them matched anything from the scenes. They went ahead and charged him with the murders. But he went to trial just for William's death. The case went to trial. The prosecution suffered many blows during this case because they pretty much just had circumstantial evidence.
Well, yeah.
The only evidence they really had was forensic hair evidence. Police couldn't admit to finding anyone who seen Charlie with prostitutes on the night they were killed. His wife claimed that on the nights in question, Charlie did not leave the house early for his paper route, and he always came home on time. Veronica, the girl that we talked about earlier that escaped, she decided to testify as a witness for the defense and claimed that she and Albright had never been together, and the detective had coerced her into picking Charlie's photograph out of a lineup.
That is ridiculous. Maybe she was terrified that he would kill her, though.
Yeah.
since they didn't have any like solid evidence.
Afraid that he would get out and come back and kill
Yeah.
her. The truck driver said he denied that he even seen the girl at his house that night.
What in the world? That is insane.
Yeah. So the prosecution focused on this hair evidence. They had hair samples from prostitutes, and they found hair from a squirrel's tail that police located in the field where one of the victims was murdered. They found on her coat. Then they recovered the same hair from the coat and the squirrel fur from a vacuum at Albright's home.
That is absolutely nuts.
Yeah. I mean, I could see where they would try to really go with that, because squirrel fur and the fur from that coat, that's a pretty weird coincidence.
Yeah.
Investigators believe that was pretty much the only thing that tied them to the case. The defense said that the person who committed the crime was the truck driver. They said evidence pointed to him, but not Charles. They said Charles was eccentric but harmless. He was squeamish when it came to violence. But we know that's not true, because he had a history of
killing animals, plucking their eyeballs out.
The jury deliberated and found him guilty of the murder of Shirley Williams, and he was sentenced to life in prison, just with the fur evidence. But I really think with this guy being super smart like this, who knows? I mean, I think he was just a really good killer.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of an odd story, because there wasn't really any evidence, so who knows if he did this? It could have been somebody else. It could be that he's just an awesome killer and he's got a bunch of victims out there.
He may have had a bunch of victims.
He could have killed a bunch more prostitutes.
Hid a bunch of them. You never know.
But he is now in a psychiatric hospital. He still insists that he killed no one and never touched a human eyeball. They said in prison he works as a carpenter and he likes reading books about the Civil War. And he still talks to Dixie. They said he's been up for parole, but he's never been granted it. I guess he could be guilty, but he could also be innocent.
I mean, what if he just an idea. What if he, in one of those extra homes, had a hidden spot where he hid his guns, and he didn't use that home, like he didn't let anybody stay in the home?
Yeah, it's possible.
Like, if it's a hidden spot, people still might not know.
Yeah.
Like, if there are floorboards that he had, nailed down and there are guns under there, it could still be there.
Yeah.
I mean...
Because police searched that house really good because they knew he lived there. And if it was just the house that he crashed at or did these murders at, I would
he
assume
claims to his wife that he rented it out, but he really didn't, or he didn't even tell his wife about that one in particular.
Yeah.
Or, because he had multiple rental properties, you said. Here I am, amateur sleuthing it. And I mean, maybe it was traumatic and his brain just tried to, rid itself of that information. I don't know.
It's an odd case. I don't know what to make of it.
Interesting.
But I thought it was pretty interesting, too.
Holy crap. I can't believe I've never heard of this.
It was in some TV shows, like one of those, I forgot what it's called, CSI or one of those shows like that. They kind of did a reenactment of it on one of those. But
I mean, granted, it was literally
yeah, you were born the day you killed the first person.
I was born.
Yeah.
So, the day I was born.
Yeah.
So, I was not old enough to, be mentally present for that.
Yeah.
So.
But that's about all of that. But tell these people where they can find us, Keisha.
All right, guys. Well, you can email us with any suggestions or advice, or tell us hi. tequilaandterror@gmail.com.
Yeah, we're still working on the book club details too, so we don't know what we're going to do with that.
We'll come out with details for the book club soon. That is actually going to happen, guys. I promise. I'll make it work. You can find us on Facebook at Tequila and Terror Podcast. Tequila and Terror Podcast on Instagram. Tequila_terror on Twitter.
Yeah.
I still don't know Twitter well. Sorry. And then, of course, you can listen to us anywhere you find podcasts pretty much. Also, we have our website. Wes, tell them what the website is.
Tequilaandterror.com.
Tequilaandterror.com.
Yeah, I think we're pretty much just focusing on Spotify and Stitcher and
Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, and Apple Podcast, because they seem like the most active places. So it seems like the best places to go.
Just find us and listen.
Yeah. And tell
Love
your
us.
friends, because I don't really care about the social media stuff that much. I know people like it, but the important thing to me is that you listen to the show and tell your friends, because we can see that that's happening. We don't have as much social media activity as we do listeners, and as long as we have listeners, I don't care what you do, but I'd really like to hear from some of these people in Australia. I think that's awesome.
Okay, so now that Wes went on his little rant, like us, share us, subscribe, rate, tell us how much you like us.
Or just keep listening.
Or just do all of the things and keep listening, please.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks again. And we will see y'all next week.
Bye.